Hi everyone, this is Vipul. Today we'll be talking about the solutions of XAT 2022, the exam which was happened on 2nd of January, right? And the very next day we've got the response sheet also. So I thought of talking about the solution, right? To brief with the exam which came this year, when you talk about specifically the QA and the DI session, the section, there were a lot of questions which were not very tough, I would say, or if somebody knows the basic formula, you would have actually, one would have cracked that easily, right? So I'll take you through all the questions which came in the paper when it comes to QADI. Look out for what possible ways are there to solve them, so that you'll have a fair bit idea about the level of difficulty also, right? So without wasting any time, let's move on to the first question of actual XAT paper, right? Okay, the question says a supplier receives order from 5 different buyers. Each buyer places their order only on Monday. The first buyer places the order after every 2 weeks, the second buyer after every 6 weeks, the third buyer every 8 weeks, and the fourth buyer every 4 weeks. Okay. And the fifth buyer after every 3 weeks. It is known that on January 1st, which was Monday, each of these 5 buyers placed an order with the supplier. Okay. So on how many occasions in the same year will these buyers place their orders together, excluding the order placed on 1st of January? So basically we need to identify how many times they'll be ordering together in the entire 1 year, right? So basically they're saying there are 5 buyers. Let's say buyer 1, buyer 2, buyer 3, buyer 4, and buyer 5. So every 2 weeks, then it says the other one is going to be every 6. Then we have got 8, 4, and 3. Okay. So basically we need to identify how many times will they place order again. Okay. So that means in order to get that value, I am looking out for a number which comes in the table of 2, 6, 8, 4, and 3, because then only every buyer will be order on the same Monday basically. So LCM of 2, 8 is 2 and 6 is 6, 6 and 8 is 24, 24 and 4 again 24, and 3 24. Therefore, after every 24 weeks, they will be ordering on the same day, right? Now basically we know there are 52 complete weeks. So that means if they order simultaneously on 1st of January, so after that it will come after every 24 weeks, therefore 24th week, then again 48th week, and the next will be nothing but 72, which will exceed the year. So that means if they talk about in the same year, so once and twice it will happen twice, and therefore option C is going to be the answer. So quite straightforward, just the LCM, and then we can get to this. Moving on, next question. 49. Some members of a social service organization in Kolkata decide to prepare 2,400 laddus to give to a children in various orphanages and slums in the city. Okay, during Durga Puja. Okay, the plan is that each of them makes the same number of laddus. However, on laddu making day, 10 members are absent. Thus, each remaining member makes 12 laddus more than the earlier decided. How many members actually make the laddus? Okay, so now basically we have to identify basically how many eventually end up making the laddus when they made 12 more laddus than what the task was given. Okay, let's say originally the number of persons are n, and the number of laddus that they are making is Y. So person and if I talk about the number of laddus each of them are making per person. Right. So initially there are n persons. So y laddus, if the number of person reduces by 10, that means become n minus 10. So the number of laddus increases by 12. Right. Okay. So what we can do is nothing but we can identify number of laddus, that is y, because I know the total number of laddus which are formed are 2400. So earlier I can say y is equals to total number of laddus that to be formed divided by the number of persons. So y is going to be laddu per person. This was initially. Now on the final day, laddus prepared were y plus 2 by each person. Number of laddus would remain same, but now the number decreases by this. So that means I know difference of second and first, it is equals to nothing but 12. Now the moment I write this 2400 upon n minus 10 minus 2400 upon n, the difference is equals to 12. Right. So if I simplify that, let me solve it here. So if you take 2400 common, so it will be nothing but n minus 10 into n, and that's going to be n minus 10, and the value is equals to 12. Okay. So n minus n, that's going to be 10 plus 10, because n and n will cancel each other, upon n square minus 10n is equals to 12 upon 2400. Just taking 2400 to the right hand side. Right. So let me simplify this. It is 12 2s are 24, then 0 and 0. Okay. So now cross multiply and I end up getting the equation which is n square minus 10n minus 2000 is equal to 0. Right. Okay. So that's the equation we have got, and we are supposed to identify the value of n. So if we split the middle term and solve, it will coming out to be nothing but minus 50n plus 40n minus 2000 equal to 0, which gives me n equals to 50 or minus 40, which is not possible. So originally there are 50 people. Now, if you look at what they have asked in the question, nothing but how many members actually made the laddus. So number of people who have actually made the laddus are nothing but n minus 10. So therefore 50 minus 10, 40 are the number of people who eventually end up making the laddus, right? So again, not very tough, right? So ZAT generally gives less kind of question which are straightforward, but this year the number was slightly on the higher side. Okay, moving on, guys. Question number 58. Sheila purchases two variety of apples, A and B, for a total of rupees 2800, right? The weight of in kg of A and B purchased by Sheila are respectively in the ratio 5:8. So weight is given, but the cost price of A is 20% more than the cost price of B. Sheila sells A and B with the profit of 15 and 10% respectively. So what is the overall profit we are supposed to? Okay. So basically, total expenditure is 2800. The weight of they have given as A and B in kg are 5:8. Okay. So A, B. If I talk about weights, it is in the ratio 5:8. If I talk about the price per kg, so is 20% more than B's price. Right. Okay. Right. And we are supposed to identify what is the overall profit. If the profit on A is 15% and it is 10% on B. What is the overall profit in rupees? Right, guys. Okay. So let's assume that the weight for both the apple A and B are 5x and 8x. This is for A and B. Since price of B, I mean A is 20% more than B, so if the price for B is y rupees per kg, then the price for A will be 20% more. So therefore price for A will be 6 by 5 of the price for B, which is 1.2 basically, right? So that means this is the quantity, this is the price per kg. So the total cost will be equal to this into this, which is coming out to be nothing but 6xy, and this into this, which is coming out to be 8xy, which is the total cost, which is equals to 14xy, which they have given in the question as 2800. So basically I end up getting x into y is going to be 200, right? Okay. Now what we are supposed to identify is nothing but what is the total profit. So on the first, that is A, the profit is 15%. So basically we need to identify what is 15% of the total cost for A. So 15% of 6xy, that's going to be nothing but 15% of 6xy, which is 0.9xy, plus 10% on the other B, which is of 8xy. And this is the total profit we are supposed to calculate. So that's going to be 0.9xy plus 0.8xy is the total profit, which is 1.7xy. Now we know the value of xy is nothing but 200. So that's going to be 1.7 into 200, which is coming out to be 340 is the answer to this question. So again, question which is based on arithmetic, right? So this is how I'll be able to solve it. Moving on, guys. Question number 51, right? Okay. The sum of the cube of two numbers is 128, while the sum of their reciprocal of the cube is 2. What is the product of the square of these number? So let's assume that numbers are x and y. Now, according to question, they have stated that x cube plus y cube is equals to 128. They have not mentioned that they're integer or anything, but I know it's going to be x cube plus y cube is going to 128. Sorry. And while the sum of the reciprocal of their cubes, sum of the reciprocal, that means 1 by x cube upon 1 by y cube, sum of the reciprocal of their cube, it is given as 2. And what is the product of the square of the number? So product of the square of the number, we are supposed to calculate what is the value of x square into y square. Right. Okay. So I know this is one information which is given. Second is this. If I take the LCM, it is coming out to be x cube y cube plus x cube is equals to 2. Right. So I know y cube plus x cube is nothing but 128. If you use this and plug in this, so I end up getting x cube y cube is equals to 128 upon 2, which is equal to 64. Now, if x cube y cube is 64, so xy will be nothing but cube root of 64, which is 4 is the answer. And if I know the value of xy is 4, so therefore x square y square is going to be 4 square, which is 16 is the answer to the question. Right, guys. Okay. So moving on. Next. Okay. A marble is dropped from a height of 3 meters onto the ground. After hitting the ground, it bounces and reaches 80% of its height from which it was dropped. Okay. Okay. So it was dropped from a height of, let's say 3 meters, then goes to a height which is, let me make this, goes to a height which is 80% of that. Okay. Then it says this repeats multiple times. Each time it bounces on the marble reaches 80% of the height previously reached. Okay. So now again it will drop from this height. Now it will go again 80% of this. Then coming back, right? So basically this process will be a repeat again and again, and every time it is 80% of this. This is going to be 80% of the previous height, and so on and so forth, right? So the first is nothing but 3 meter drop from that. Then it goes to a height which is 80% of that. 80% of 3 is going to be 2.4. Again it will go down. Then again it's going to be 80% of 2.4, which is 1.92, and again 1.92. So basically we can say it keeps on going, and if you observe carefully, barring the first term, every term is there for 2 times. So it is 3 plus 80% of 3 plus 80% of 3, and which is 2.4 basically. So 3 plus 2.4 plus 2.4 plus 80% of 2.4 plus 80% of 2.4, and then which is 1.92, so 80% of that, and so on and so forth. Every time is going to be twice, right? So what we can do is nothing but we can write 3 one more time and also subtract at the end. So that will not change the impact on the answer. But what I can see is nothing but I have that every term is there for 2 times. Okay, and it's a geometric progression with the common ratio as 2.5 2.4 upon 3, 2.4 upon 3, which is going to be 0.8. So basically it is going to be 3 plus 3 into 0.8 plus 3 into 0.8 square, and so on and so forth, and then minus 3, right? So we have taken it extra, so we need to subtract that. And we know sum of infinite terms of a GP is nothing but A upon 1 minus R. So sum of infinite term of a GP is nothing but A upon 1 minus R, and therefore that's going to be first term is A, which is 3 upon 1 minus R, common ratio is 0.8. So that's going to be minus 3. 2 into, so basically it's going to be nothing but 3 upon 0.2 minus 3, which is coming out to be 27. That is the answer to this question. So the only catch was nothing but barring the first term, every term will be there for 2 times, because once it bounces, it drops, it goes to a height and then again come back the same height, right? Okay, so this was question number 52. Moving on. 53, right? It says Ramesh and Reena are playing with triangle ABC. Ramesh draws a line that bisects angle BAC. This line cuts BC at D. Okay, let me make the figure. Let me make the figure. Right. So triangle ABC is there. Right. So Ramesh and Reena are playing. Ramesh draws angle bisector of line that bisect angle BAC. So angle bisector of this basically. Let's say this is the angle bisector which divides this. Okay. Okay. And this line cuts BC at D. So this point is D. Ramesh did this. Reena then extend AD to a point P. In response, Ramesh joins BP. Okay. So now what Reena does is nothing but just extend it. extended, okay, to the point P. In response, Ramesh joins BP. So let's join this. So this is P. Okay. Reena then announces that BD bisect angle PBA. So BD bisect this angle PBA. Okay, this is also an angle bisector. What a surprise. Together, Ramesh and Reena find that BD is equal to 6. This is 6. AC is 9. Okay, this is 9. DC is 5. BP is 8. BP is also given as 8. And DP is 5. Okay, so these values are given 5. How long is the AP? So we need to identify what is the entire length of AP. So AP is something which we need to calculate. Okay. Now it is given that AD is an angle bisector and BD also becomes an angle bisector, right, guys? So if I look at triangle ABC and AD is an angle bisector, so we know angle bisector divides the opposite side in the same ratio as the sides containing an angle. You know that angle bisector theorem, that angle bisector divides opposite side in the same ratio as the sides containing an angle. So if I know this, so that means I know in triangle ABC, AB upon AC is equals to BD upon DC. Now AB is not known, but the other three values are there. So therefore, AB is equals to AC, which is 9, into BD, which is 6 upon 5. So that's going to be 54 by 5, which is 10.8. So I end up getting the value of AB is 10.8. Okay. Now it is also given that BD is an angle bisector of a triangle ABP. So therefore, in triangle ABP, BD is an angle bisector. So therefore, it again divides the opposite side in the same ratio. Therefore, I can say BP upon BA is equals to PD upon DA. So I know BP, just calculated 10.8. BA is there as 8. PD is 5, which is given, and AD is something which I'll be able to calculate. So AD is coming out to be nothing but 8 upon 10.8. BP upon BA is DP upon DA. Okay, so AD will come out to be nothing but 40 upon 10 point. Let's look at the calculation. BD is BP, I mean angle bisector, and therefore BP upon BA is PD upon this. So that's gonna be 8 upon 10.8. Okay, so I've just written it wrong basically. So BP upon BA, so BP is 8, sorry. So just correct that, guys. So BP is 8 upon BA is 10.8 is equals to this. And AD is coming out to be nothing but 10.8 into 5 upon 8, which is 44 into 5. So 10.8 into 5 is 54 upon 8, which is 8 6 I mean 48 6, then is 750, 6.75. So that means I end up getting this AD as 6.75. So now summation of AD plus DP. AD plus DP is something which I need to calculate AP. So that's going to be AD plus DP. So AD is 6.75 plus 5. It's 11.75 is the answer to this question. Right. So this is all I'll be able to calculate again. Just the property of angle bisector theorem. And this is how we'll be able to get to know the answer. So move to the next question. Shireen draws a circle in her courtyard. She then measures the circle circumference and its diameter with her measuring tape and records that two are integers, A and B. Okay. So A is the circumference and B is the diameter. She finds that A and B are co-prime, so there is nothing in common. Okay, that's the greatest common divisor is one. They will explain that. She also finds that this ratio or the ratio that A is to B is coming out to be nothing but 3.1416141614. Okay, so basically the ratio is coming out to be 3.1416 bar, repeating endlessly. So what is the value of A minus B? So basically I need to convert this recurring fraction into its fractional form, which is in the form of A upon B in simplified form, and then A minus B will give me the answer for the same. A minus B will give me the answer for the same. Okay. So basically it is nothing but a fraction which is a repeating one, and we need to convert into its this form, right? So basically guys, we know the direct formula. Basically I'll just read out that formula for you. Okay. So the formula is nothing but, if I need to convert, write the terminating part and recurring part once minus the terminating part upon, let's say this value is equal to x. Put as many nines as the number of digits in the recurring part, followed by as many zeros as the number of terminating digits after the decimal. So formula in, I mean, the statement is little on the higher side in terms of the number of words, but it is very simple. So basically what we need to do is nothing but look out for the terminating part, which is 3, and the recurring part, which is 1416. So write terminating part and recurring part once minus the terminating part, which is 3 in this case, upon put as many 9 as the number of digits in the reckoning part. I know it's 1416, 1416. So there are 4 9s which will come. Followed by as many zeros as the number of terminating digits after the decimal. So after the decimal, there is none of the digits which is terminating. So there is no 0, and therefore this is the value of x, which is coming out to be nothing but 31413 upon 9999. Since numerator and denominator are multiple of 3, we are looking out for the co-prime number. So just cancel 3. It's coming out with nothing but 3333. Okay, and the numerator we have got 3 1s are 3. Then it's gonna be 0, 3 4s are 12, 3 7s are 21, and 1. So now the sum of the digits of the numerator is 13, and while the denominator is 12, so numerator is not a multiple of 3. And if I break this 3, 3, 3, 3, it is actually 3 into 1, 1, 1, 1. So it is 3 into 11 into 1, 0, 1. Now, numerator is not a multiple of 3, neither a multiple of 11. And similarly, if you check out, it is not a multiple of 101 either. So therefore, now I know these two are co-prime. So basically, one of them will be nothing but A, and the other is going to be nothing but B. So this is A, this is B. So now the question says, what is the difference between A minus B? So basically, 10471 minus 3333 7138 is the answer to this question, right, guys? So just a direct application of this conversion. Moving on. 55th. If both the sequence x a1 a2 y and x b1 b2 z are in AP, and it is given that y is greater than x and z is less than x. Okay. So basically, first AP is x a1 a2 and y, and this is AP number 1. Second is x b1 b2 and z, and it is given that y is greater than x. So if y is greater than x, that means it is an increasing AP, and z is less than x, so it's going to be the decreasing one. So that means common difference for this decreasing one, d is negative, while for this d is positive. So now they're saying which of the following values can possibly take. So we are looking out for the values it can take, which is a1 minus a2 upon b1 minus b2. So a1 minus a2 upon b1 minus b2, we need to tell which. Okay, so I know since it is an increasing, so a1 a2, so a2 will be greater than a1, and therefore this is going to be negative value, while it is a decreasing one, therefore b1 will be greater than b2. So b1 is greater than b2, and therefore it is positive. So therefore I can say the resultant is going to be negative. So we cannot have, I mean, when I say we cannot have a positive value, neither it can be 0, because they mentioned that z is less than x. So there has to be some difference, and so as y is greater than x. So therefore it has to be negative. Only one option is there which gives you negative sign, and therefore I need not to check the real values which I can take, because a lot of values are possible, but this is how I'll be able to solve it. Right, guys? Next question. 56 to 58 caselet, right, guys? It says, read the following scenario and answer the 3 questions that follows. The given candlestick chart depicts the prices of a particular stock over 10 consecutive days. Okay. A candlestick comprises of a rectangular box pieced by a line. The top of the bottom end of the line respectively indicate the maximum and minimum prices of the stock on that day. Okay. So basically, this is the maximum price. This is the minimum price. Let me write it as minimum for all. And this is the maximum one. Okay. While the horizontal edges of a rectangular correspond to the stock opening and closing prices. Okay. So this horizontal is the closing and the opening prices. If the rectangle is white, the opening price is lower than the closing price. Okay. So that means if it is white, so this is opening price is less or lower. So this will be the opening price and this will be the closing price. Similarly for this also. Okay. But if the rectangle is black, then it is other way around. Okay. So for the black one, this is the closing price and this is the opening price. So basically closing price is less than this for all the black. Okay. So this is the opening because it's a white in color, right guys? So using the above information, answer the question below. Okay, let's look at the question. Which day saw the maximum percentage increase in the stock price at the closing from the opening? So we're looking out for percentage increase maximum in which on which day basically. So 1, 2, 6, 7, 10. So options are 1, 2, 6, 7, and 10. Okay. Now on 6th day and 7th day we can see the price has decreased, so we cannot have a maximum increase, directly ruled out. If you talk about 1, 2, and 10, for 1, opening price, closing price. So opening price is close to, on day 1, it is close to 2365 around. Yeah, 2365. And the closing is going to be 2395. Okay, okay. On day 2, 2395, 2425. 2395 to 2425 on day 2. And on day 10, it is 2278 approximately, because less than, the gap is less than 5, 2278 or 79, and it goes till 2295 or 94, I would say. Right. Okay. So basically, we are looking out for highest percentage increase. So it's going to be 30 on the base of 2365, and it is 30 on the base of 2395, and it is approximately 16 on the base of 2278. So obviously from the first and second ruled out because base is larger. If you look at the first and the 10th one, again, if I look at what is 1% of 2365, it is to 23.65, and it is more than that. So therefore, this is 1% more than that. While if you look at 1% is 22 point something, which is less than 1%. So obviously, I can say the maximum is going to be on day 1. We can use by visualizing also. Okay. Moving on. Next question. What is the highest magnitude of a change over the 2 consecutive days, 1 and 3, or 5 and 7, in the maximum price touched by the stock during the 10-day period? Okay. So we are looking out for the highest magnitude change over the 2 consecutive days. Okay. So magnitude change. So basically 1 to 3, 2 to 4, and so forth. Till 8 to 10, we need to see where we have the highest magnitude change over the 2 consecutive in the maximum price touched by the stock during the 10-day. So maximum price touch is something we are looking out for. Okay, so if I look at maximum price touch, basically we are looking out for these values, and basically gap from 1 to 3, then and so on so forth. We are looking out for change, right? If I look at okay, so from 1 it is 2415 to it is going to be approximately 2435, and then look out for the one ahead of that, which is 2440. Okay, so the gap is 25. So if you observe carefully, gap for this is also less than 40. Okay, if you look at this value and this value, that is the peak value on day 4 and 6. So it is 2435 55 and it is nothing but 2400. The gap is nothing but 55. Okay. If you look at this value along with this, so that's gonna be 237 or 2365, and it is nothing but 2415. So 35, 15, approximately 50. Okay. Then look at this value, which is 2400, and if you look at this value, it is 2330. So from 6 day to 8 day, the top is coming out of a gap of 70. Okay. Then 7 to 9, if you look at, it is nothing but 20 plus 10, 30, less than that 70 value. And similarly for next also. So basically we end up getting from 6 to 8, the gap is going to be 70, which is the maximum. Okay. So basically 10-day period gap on over 2 consecutive days, 70 is going to be the answer to this question. Right, guys? So just visualizing and answering it. On which day is the ratio of maximum price to the opening price is the highest across 10 days? So maximum price upon the opening price, highest in 10 days. Okay. So since 5 options are there, so we look out only for these 5. 1, 3, 4, 9, 10. So 1, 3, 4, 9, 10, maximum to the opening. For the first, it is coming out to be nothing but maximum value was 2415 upon the opening value was 2365. For the third, maximum value was 2440 and the opening value was 2420. Day 4, it is 2455 upon 24, approximately 3534, right? And this is for fourth. For day 9, it is 2298 is the opening value, and the peak was 2325. And for day 10, the opening value was 2278, while the closing value was, the maximum value was 2325, right? Okay. So we're looking out for which is the highest value. First of all, if I look at, the gap is 40. It's less than 40. Again less than 40. Again less than 40. And here we have got more than 40. Okay. So the gap is highest for the day 10 and the denominator is the least. So I know the difference is highest and denominator is least. So obviously day 10 will give me the larger value. Again, without even calculating, we can say the answer is going to be option number E, which says day 10 will have the maximum, ratio of the price, highest ratio of the maximum price to the opening price. Okay. Question number 59, guys. I have 5 10 rupee notes, 3 20 rupees note, and 2 50 rupee note in my wallet. Okay. So I've got 10 rupee note, which are 5 in number, 20 rupee note, which are 3 in number, and 50 rupee note, which are 2 in the wallet. Okay. If 3 notes were taken out randomly and simultaneously, what is the probability that at least 90 rupees were taken out? Okay. So we are looking out for the amount taken should be greater than equal to 90 with 3 notes. Right, guys? Okay. So basically, we need to see and look out for all those possible cases wherein we'll get all the, the sum of 3 notes should be 90 or more than that. See, if we take notes of only 10, 3, I will not be able to make 90. If I take only 20, all 3, so again, I'll not be able to make 90. So therefore, this leads to the conclusion that out of the 3 notes which I'll be taking out, at least one will be of denomination 50. Because if we take only 10 or 20, so maximum sum will be obtained is 60. So therefore, we will not be able to have that 90, right? So that means we have to have at least one note of rupee 50. So now it leads to 2 possibilities. So case number 1, one note of 50, right? So if I pick one note of 50 and I want a sum to be 90 or more in 3 notes, so obviously I have to pick 40 from the remaining 2. Amount should be 40 from the remaining 2 note, which is only possible if I pick 2 notes of 20. So that means first case, one note of 50 and then 2 notes of 20. That's the possibility, right? Case number 2. Because with 50, if I pick only 10 or a combination of 10 and 20, I'll not be able to have that 90. Okay, case 2 is there. Case 2, when I pick both 2 notes of 50. So that makes it 100. That makes it 100. So that condition which is greater than 90 is already satisfied. So now the third note can be of any denomination. So one note of any denomination. Because I know I will be able to get a value which is more than 90. Okay, so these are the 2 cases which are there. So if I need to calculate case number 1, one note of 50, so that's going to be 2C1, any one out of these 2, and 2 notes of 20, which is going to be nothing but out of 3, 3C2. So therefore, the total number of cases, if I calculate for this, for case 1, it is going to be 2 into 3, that is going to be 6. Case number 2, this is 1, this is 2. So I have to pick both the 50 rupee note and apart from that, one note of any denomination out of these 8. So I can say this is going to be 8C1 and it is coming out to be nothing but 1 into 8, which is 8. So total favorable cases are 6 plus 8, that is 14 are the favorable cases which will make the sum to be 90 or more, right? And the total number of cases, if I need to calculate, it's going to be nothing but total cases is 10C3. So basically my answer will be nothing but favorable cases, which is 14 upon 10C3. So it's 10 into 9 into 8 upon 1 into 2 into 3. So 6 12s are, so that makes it 14 upon 120, which is 7 by 60 is my answer. We need to make cases and then this is all be able to calculate it, guys. Okay, moving on. Caselet question number 62.